My name is Jennifer. I'm 32 years old, and 5 years of my life ended on a Tuesday evening with one question so selfish that I can still hear it perfectly. I need to explore this connection with her, my boyfriend said. But can we still be best friends? The strange thing is, I remember everything about that night. The roasted garlic from dinner, the orange sunset stretching across the living room wall, the rough fabric of the couch beneath my fingers, and Ethan sitting across from me instead of beside me. That should have been my first warning. Honestly, the warnings had been there for weeks. His phone used to sit forgotten on the coffee table. Now it never left his hand. His laughs came half a second late whenever I made a joke, and every other conversation somehow included Mara. Mara from work. Funny Mara. Brilliant Mara. Mara who had recently ended a long relationship. You should hear her ideas, Jennifer. She thinks completely differently. I wasn't stupid. I knew what emotional gravity looked like when someone started orbiting another person, but after 5 years, you tell yourself the foundation is stronger than that. Ethan pulled his knees toward himself and took a breath. We need to talk. There it was. I love you, he began. For one stupid second, hope flashed through me. You're my best friend. You're my person. Then came the inevitable word. But. He looked down. I feel like we've become roommates. Everything is comfortable, but there's no passion. Comfortable. As if 5 years of building trust had somehow become evidence against me. I've been talking to Mara a lot, he continued. She's made me realize I have needs that aren't being met. I said nothing. She wakes something up in me. My stomach tightened. What do you want, Ethan? His eyes filled with tears. I need to find out whether this connection with her is real. There it was. No more vague language. So, you're leaving me for Mara? It's not that simple. It sounds extremely simple. He started crying harder. This is difficult for me too. That almost made me laugh. He was breaking my heart and asking me to appreciate how painful the experience was for him. I don't want to lose what we have, he said quickly. 5 years means something. Apparently not enough. Then he leaned forward. You're still the person who knows me best. I don't want to throw that away. I already knew where this was going. I need to explore this real connection with her. He swallowed. But can we still be us? Can we still be best friends? The room went completely silent. He wanted Mara for passion, me for security, her for possibility, me for emotional cleanup if possibility failed. And suddenly, all the questions I wanted to ask disappeared. Why wasn't I enough? How long had this been happening? Had he already crossed a line? None of them mattered anymore. Ethan had shown me exactly where I stood. Second place with lifetime backup privileges. I stood. He looked startled. Jennifer? Okay. His eyes widened. Okay? What does that mean? I walked toward the bedroom. It means I heard you. I closed the door. Then I took 2 suitcases from the closet. Clothes, shoes, laptop, documents, chargers. Only what belonged to me. The hardest part was the bookshelf. 5 years of our books mixed together like our lives had been. I separated mine, one by one. At the bottom of a drawer, I found a photo from a hiking trip. Ethan and me, sunburned and laughing. I stared at it, then placed it face down underneath my clothes. I texted my friend Rachel. You awake? Need a ride and maybe your couch. Her reply came immediately. On my way. I carried everything quietly toward the front door. Ethan was in the other room talking on his phone. Probably Mara. I didn't interrupt. 15 minutes later, I climbed into Rachel's car. My phone buzzed before we reached the end of the street. I know you need space. Please tell me you're okay. We can still talk. I still love you. I stared at the message, then blocked his number. Instagram, Facebook, everything. Ethan had asked if we could remain best friends while he explored another woman. My answer wasn't an argument. It wasn't revenge. It was complete silence. And less than a month later, when Mara ghosted him, Ethan would finally understand exactly what that silence meant. Rachel didn't ask questions until we were inside her apartment. She helped carry my suitcases upstairs, handed me a glass of water, and waited while I sat on the edge of her couch, staring at absolutely nothing. Finally, she said, "Do you want to tell me what happened?" I laughed once. It didn't sound like me. Ethan wants to explore a real connection with Mara. Rachel's face changed. The coworker? The one he's been talking about nonstop. And he broke up with you? I nodded. Then I added, "But he wants us to stay best friends." Rachel actually stared at me. "You're joking." "I wish." She sat beside me. "What did you say?" "Okay." That made her smile slightly. "Good." I didn't feel good. Not that night. Not the next morning either. For 5 years, Ethan had been built into almost every routine I had. Morning coffee, grocery lists, weekend plans, random messages about stupid things that happened at work. The first few days after leaving, my hand would automatically reach for my phone whenever something funny happened. Then I would remember. There was nobody to text anymore. At least, not him. I stayed with Rachel for a week. Then I found a small one-bedroom apartment. Fresh paint, cheap cabinets, a balcony barely large enough for one chair. No memories. Perfect. I filled it slowly. Books, plants, a new set of dishes Ethan had never touched. I started going to the gym again. Long walks after work. Podcasts while cooking. For the first time in years, I wasn't monitoring someone else's mood. The silence stopped feeling empty. It started feeling peaceful. 3 weeks passed. Then an unknown number called. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, curiosity got me. I listened. "Ethan." His voice sounded broken. "Jennifer, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I made a mistake." I stood completely still. "Mara and it's over. She wasn't who I thought she was." "Of course." "It was all just words." She stopped answering me. "She told people at work we were never really together." His breathing hitched. "Please call me. I really need my best friend." There it was again. Best friend. Not girlfriend. Not partner. Not the woman he had discarded after 5 years. The emotional emergency service he expected to remain available. I deleted the voicemail. Blocked the number. 4 days later, his sister Chloe emailed me. The subject line was, "We need to talk about Ethan." Against my better judgment, I opened it. "Jennifer, I know what Ethan did was wrong, but he's falling apart. Mara basically used him to make her ex-girlfriend jealous, then ghosted him. He's barely eating. He cries constantly. Are you really going to abandon him after 5 years because of one mistake? He loves you. He learned his lesson. At least talk to him. You were his best friend before anything else. Don't be cruel. One mistake." I reread that phrase. Ethan had spent weeks emotionally investing in another woman, then calmly ended our relationship so he could pursue her. That wasn't one mistake. That was a sequence of choices. And apparently my refusal to comfort him afterward was cruelty. I marked the email as spam. The next attempt came through one of his friends. Then another. Different wording. Same message. He messed up. He needs you. You know him better than anyone. You're taking this too far. Nobody asked what I needed. Nobody seemed interested in the fact that Ethan had requested the breakup. They only cared that his new life hadn't worked. Then Rachel called me one evening. "You're going to hear this eventually." "What?" "Mara went back to her ex." I closed my eyes. Apparently, Mara had recently ended a long relationship with a woman and had been using Ethan partly to provoke jealousy and partly because she liked the attention. Once her ex showed interest again, Ethan became disposable. Rachel continued carefully. "He's telling people he didn't realize what he was losing until you left." I almost laughed. "No, he didn't realize what he was losing until Mara left." Rachel went quiet, then said, "Exactly." That distinction mattered. Because Ethan wasn't grieving me when he chose her. He was grieving me now because his backup plan had disappeared. And so had I. For years, I thought silence meant there was something unresolved. Now I understood something different. Sometimes silence is the resolution. Ethan had asked for the freedom to find out whether Mara was better for him. I gave him exactly that. What he hadn't expected was that freedom worked both ways. And soon, when he showed up at my new apartment crying outside the building, he would finally learn that regret was not the same thing as access. The first time Ethan showed up at my new apartment, I almost didn't recognize him through the intercom screen. His hair was messy, his face looked pale and exhausted. He was wearing the gray hoodie I had seen him wear through half our relationship, the one I used to steal whenever my apartment got cold. For half a second, 5 years of muscle memory kicked in. Open the door. Ask what happened. Take care of him. Then I remembered why he was standing there. I pressed the intercom button. Yes? His head snapped toward the speaker. Jennifer, what do you want? Can I come up? No. He stared into the camera like he couldn't understand the word. Please, just 5 minutes. No. His face crumpled. I made a mistake. I said nothing. A tear ran down his cheek. Mara ghosted me. There it was. Not I hurt you. Not I betrayed you. Mara ghosted him. She stopped answering. Ethan continued. She told people at work that we were never serious. She said I misunderstood everything. I leaned against the wall beside the intercom. She used me, Jennifer. I almost laughed. Okay. He looked wounded. Okay? What do you want me to say? I need you. No. His voice cracked. You're my best friend. That phrase had become almost insulting. You ended our relationship so you could explore another woman. I know. You asked me to wait nearby emotionally while you figured out whether she was better. That's not how I meant it. That's exactly what you meant. Ethan pressed one hand against the glass door downstairs. I was confused. You were very clear. I chose wrong. I went quiet. He started crying harder. Don't you understand? I regret it. I'm standing here telling you I want you back. And? His expression shifted. He genuinely thought regret created an obligation. You still love me. Maybe I did. At least some version of him. That didn't mean I wanted him back. Love doesn't erase what you did. We had 5 years, and you traded them for a possibility. He shook his head desperately. Mara made me feel like something was missing. No, Ethan. You decided something was missing. That landed. His face tightened. Can you just let me upstairs? No. I need to explain. You already explained. When? The night you broke up with me. He stared at the camera. You said I was comfortable, safe, that Mara awakened something in you. I was stupid. Yes. So punish me forever? This isn't punishment. I kept my voice calm. This is the consequence of the choice you made. His sadness suddenly sharpened. You're really going to leave me like this when I need you most? I closed my eyes. There it was. The old Ethan. The one who still believed my empathy belonged to him even after he gave the relationship away. You're not my responsibility anymore. His face changed completely. Anger replaced the tears. So that's it? Yes. 5 years and you can just switch everything off? I didn't switch it off. I looked directly into the camera. You did. I released the intercom button. He kept talking, but I couldn't hear him anymore. A minute later, the building door slammed. I stood in the center of my apartment listening to the silence return. My hands were shaking, but I hadn't opened the door. That mattered. The next morning, a message arrived from another number. It was long. Angry. Fine. Be childish. Now I see who you really are. You were always cold underneath everything. You can't handle real emotion. If you ever loved me, you wouldn't be able to shut me out when I'm falling apart. Maybe Mara was right about you. I hope you enjoy your safe, miserable little life. I read it while drinking water in my kitchen. A year earlier, Those words would have destroyed me. I would have spent days wondering whether I really was cold, whether I had failed him, whether refusing to rescue someone meant I had never loved them. Now I could see the pattern clearly. When pleading failed, Ethan attacked. When guilt failed, he insulted. When sadness didn't open the door, he tried anger. Anything except accepting that I was allowed to say no. I blocked the number. Then another message came through email, then one through a mutual friend. Each attempt made me more certain. He didn't want reconciliation. He wanted access. Access to the woman who listened, the woman who soothed him, the woman who made life feel safe when his exciting choice collapsed. And I was done being someone else's emergency exit. For the first time, I understood that closing a door wasn't cruel when the person outside had willingly walked away first. I had one final thing left to tell Ethan, then the door would stay closed for good. After Ethan's last angry message, I realized silence alone wasn't going to be enough. He kept finding new ways around every block. Unknown numbers, emails, mutual friends. Each time, the pattern was identical. First came regret, then guilt, then anger when regret didn't work. I had spent 5 years knowing exactly how to calm him down. That was probably why he kept trying. He still thought some version of the old Jennifer existed behind the door, waiting for the right combination of tears and apologies before letting him back in. She didn't. Still, I wanted one final thing on record. Not because Ethan deserved closure. Because I did. So I temporarily unblocked his original number. I sat at my kitchen counter for almost 20 minutes before typing anything. Then I wrote, Ethan, I learned something important from what happened between us. I learned what love is not. I stared at the first sentence, then continued. Love is not asking someone to step down from being your partner so you can pursue somebody else while keeping them nearby as emotional insurance. Friendship is not something you demand from the person whose heart you just broke. My fingers stayed steady. You told me you needed to explore your connection with Mara. I respected your decision. What you didn't understand was that respecting your decision also meant accepting that I was free to make one of my own. I paused. That was the part he had never understood. Ethan believed choices belonged to him. Consequences belonged to everyone else. I finished. I have built a life where my peace is non-negotiable. You are no longer part of that life. Do not call me. Do not come to my home. Do not send friends or family to contact me. I don't hate you, but I am done with this relationship in every form. Take care of yourself. I read it once. No insults. No begging. No mention of Mara ghosting him. Nothing he could twist into jealousy. Just a boundary. Then I pressed send. Delivered. For several seconds, I watched the screen. Part of me expected the typing bubble. It appeared, then disappeared. Appeared again. I didn't wait. I blocked him. Again. This time, permanently. Then I blocked the remaining email addresses that had been bothering me and told mutual friends, politely but clearly, that I did not want messages passed between us. Rachel backed me immediately. If anyone tries, send them to me. I laughed. What are you going to do? Be deeply unpleasant. That sounds healthy. Extremely. That night, I made dinner for myself. Nothing special. Pasta, garlic bread, a glass of wine. The kind of ordinary evening Ethan once described as evidence that our relationship had become too comfortable. I sat near the window with music playing quietly. And suddenly, I thought about that Tuesday evening months earlier. The roasted chicken, the sunset. Ethan sitting across from me telling me Mara awakened something inside him, then asking, "Can we still be best friends?" At the time, I thought my world had ended. Now, I understood that something had ended. Just not my world. My world had actually gotten larger. There was space again. Space to decide what I wanted without wondering whether Ethan would find it exciting enough. Space to spend weekends however I liked. Space to read without someone complaining that I was being antisocial. Space to exist without constantly measuring the emotional temperature of another person. My apartment wasn't impressive. The couch was cheap. The kitchen was tiny. My balcony barely fit a chair, and one dying plant Rachel insisted was recovering. But when I locked the door at night, I felt safe. Not because Ethan was some physical danger, because nobody inside that apartment was deciding whether I was enough. That peace was mine. Over the next few months, people stopped bringing him up. His sister eventually stopped emailing. His friends moved on. Mara became nothing more than the name of the woman Ethan had risked 5 years for and lost within weeks, and Ethan himself became quieter in my memory, not erased, just smaller. A lesson instead of a future. Sometimes people think the strongest response to betrayal is revenge. Make them jealous. Become wildly successful. Find someone better. Let them watch you win. Maybe that works for some people. For me, the strongest thing I ever did was less dramatic. I left. I didn't compete with Mara. I didn't convince Ethan I was worth choosing. I didn't remain his best friend while he discovered whether another woman made him happier. I simply believed him when he showed me where I stood. Then I chose somewhere else to stand. 5 years ended with one word. Okay. But that word wasn't surrender. It was permission. Permission for him to live with his choice. And permission for me to finally live without him. The silence that followed stopped feeling empty a long time ago. Now it sounds like freedom.